So I'm going to give you here, so you can see we have a scale, and this is the, try not to move it. This is a survival scale. And at the bottom, we have death. Okay? And all of us try to survive through pleasure. When we have pleasure, we are surviving well. And when we're not surviving, it manifests in pain. Okay? Is that clear so far? Cool. So what's happening here? Remember that we are trying to survive on different levels. In this particular precept, we are talking about surviving on what we call the second dynamic. A dynamic is that urge that each one of us has to survive. In other words, we have a built-in force that is pushing us constantly to survive. If that force is pushing us away from pain, is there anyone who likes pain here? No, right? Well, if you notice, there is something that pushes us away from pain. There's an energy built in within us. And that energy, as much as it pushes us away from pain, it pushes us towards pleasure. Okay? And that's that dynamic. That is what we call a dynamic. Okay? We have dynamics on different levels. We have actually 8 of them. Today we're concentrating on the second one. The second one is the urge to survive through sex, a relationship, and through the rearing of children. The children is the next generation. If you ever wondered why it's so important for you to be in a relationship, why it's so important for you to have kids, because it's a built-in energy, which we call a dynamic. It's built in all of us in one way or another, and it pushes us towards the direction. Okay, and the stronger we have it, the more we push towards that direction. Unfortunately, we sometimes don't understand exactly what pleasure means. So we will check it out in this precept. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Any questions on this? Because this was very in like 2 minutes just to bring it to it. Okay. Okay. So for example, if we have kids, our survival grows. If for any reason our kids are not doing well, the less our kids doing well, the more we feel we are pushed towards pain and death. Okay? When we're in a good relationship, things are going well, we feel we're surviving well. Okay? It's manifest in pleasure. Ellen, in a second. It manifests in pleasure. When we are in a relationship and it's bad, it manifests in pain, it pushes us, propels us towards death. Okay, guys, so I'm going to change screens. Cool. Sex is the means by which the race projects itself into the future through children and the family. Obviously, projecting into the future, we're talking about the survival of the race, survival in future. A lot of pleasure and happiness can come from sex. Nature intended it that way, so the race would go on. But misused or abused, it carries with it heavy penalties and punishment. Nature seems to have intended it that way also. Okay, so heavy punishment, first of all, there's obviously, we have a sickness that can come from abusing sex. And there are other punishments that we're going to go over very soon. We'll see. Any questions so far? We all cool? Okay, cool. Be faithful to your sexual partner. Unfaithfulness on the part of a sexual partner can heavily reduce one's survival. History in the newspapers carry floods of instances of the violence of human passion aroused by unfaithfulness. Guilt is the milder evil. Jealousy and vengeance are the greater monsters. One never knows when they will cease to sleep. It is all very well to speak of being civilized and uninhibited and understanding. No talk will mend ruined lives. A feeling of guilt is nowhere near as sharp as a knife in the back or ground glass in the soup. Okay, and that's referring to a jealous partner leaving that within the so-called accused partner's food or whatever they're having there. Okay, I think this is quite straightforward, and unfortunately, some have gone through such situations where jealousy can get very, very bad. And if you've been exposed to it in one way or another, you would know that it's really far from happiness. It includes a lot of pain. Okay, we have, as human beings, we have two areas where we are very, very weak in our rationality. One of them is this dynamic. It's sex and children. The other one is money. And if you look at most of the problems that we have on a social level, let's not talk on a national level, let's talk on a social level, it's one of these two. Or it's an argument about money, or it has to do with a relationship in one way or another. Does it make sense, guys? Okay, so man is not very sane on that level, unfortunately. Additionally, there is a question of health. If you do not insist upon faithfulness from a sexual partner, you lay yourself open to disease. For a very brief period, it was said that sexual disease were all under control. Yeah, and that was before AIDS arrived on the scene, right? There was a period that they thought they have everything under control. This is not now the case, if it ever was. Incurable strains of such disease now exist. Okay, again, straightforward. The problem of sexual misbehavior are not new. The powerful religion of Buddhism in India vanished from there in the 7th century. According to its own historians, the cause was sexual promiscuity in its monastery. In the Buddhist monasteries, and there were actually, in that period of time, or just before that, the Buddha monasteries in Asia were very successful. But if I remember right, it's been some time since I read it. It was mainly men. It was monks. There was no women within. And then, for whatever reason, they went out ethics as a group. And the ethics, when I say ethics, I mean you violating the rules of your group. Okay, it's not the rules of us currently today in planet Earth 2020. The rules of the Buddhist monks at that time was celibacy, and there was no woman involved. And they started to go out ethics on that level, and they just vanished. These monasteries have just vanished. And then more modernly, when sexual promiscuity becomes prevalent in an organization, commercial or otherwise, the organization can be seen to fail. No matter how civilized the discussion about it, families shatter in the face of unfaithfulness. So when it comes to the workplace, there is the issue that if you have even if you have a husband and wife working in the one workplace, that could be of a situation where conflicts because of impromiscuity behavior, go into the group of the company and can tear an area apart. Imagine you have not even a husband and wife. You have a secretary and a boss, and they're having a relationship. Okay, and then the secretary comes with all kind of demands, and puts a lot of pressure on the boss. Now he can't do his job properly, she can't do her job properly. If they are running an organization with 1,500 workers underneath them, okay, let's say they're in a head of a pyramid, so they're not it's not the CEO, but it's somewhere along that plateau of the company, and they are tearing apart that area because of something that has nothing to do with work. They're endangering all the people that work underneath them. So it's way beyond. So you could say, okay, on my personal level, that is a problem. But when you're working in a company and people are living off that company, it becomes 10 times worse. So definitely and there's a lot of companies that have rules against that, and correctly so. I can tell you that in our company we had a situation where there was a relationship between it was a new relationship coming between two people, and one was senior to the other, and as both of them were important in our company, we just separated them. In other words, we didn't allow senior hierarchy between the two. So that could never, so whatever happens, if things go well between them, that's great. But if something goes wrong and all hell breaks loose, and guys, you know how hell can break loose in relationships. I mean, it's hell. Hell is an understatement of a word. And I wish no one here will know or feel such hell. But when hell breaks loose in a relationship, you definitely don't want this to fall into the company and go wild in the company. So in my company, I'm very, very aware of that. And I make sure that this kind of thing, I don't like to interfere in people's life. I want they'll be happy, but in the hierarchy of the company, not allowed that. So we've bent over to find a solution, and it works because we take it apart. So I'm diving a bit more into this side of it, as this is more what this group does. This group works more on the business side of thing, and we mostly discuss more about business, as we have a world pandemic and a world hysteria. So we've actually we started to read into the Way to Happiness, which actually we can take a lot of it and see exactly what's happening around. So yeah. Any questions regarding that? No?
I have a question.
Of course.
I just want to find out, how did you said how did you deal with a couple that was having a relationship? You separated them, meaning like they were not allowed to see each other during work hours, or how did you deal with that?
No. Just we have a structure. We have an organizing board. Okay, Ronald, you know what it is, but we have an organizing board, which is a structure of a company. How a company is structured. Mm-hmm. When I found about it, the one was direct senior of the other. Okay, does it make sense? Mm-hmm. So what we've done is we made the one partner move them aside. They move them aside from the org board. If there were one on top and one below, I move that person aside. That person is not run by his partner.
Oh, I understand. I see.
Does it make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent.
Okay.
Any other questions? Cool. We'll continue. The urge of the moment can become the sorrow of a lifetime. And guys, this is this is so untrue, because I want if each one of us will go back to a partner that we had in the past, okay, a partner, and I'm saying that now we're in a new relationship, and a partner we had in the, and we look and we think back about it and we say, it could have been a great partner, not great partner, but not relevant not relevant to our life now if we're in a new relationship. If we're in a new and a healthy relationship, it's not relevant to our life now. So it means there was an urge in the moment, but down into the future, this could have just been an urge, and you can destroy your current life just by acting upon an urge of the moment. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you go back in history, you look at your partners. Now I'm saying, don't choose one that at that moment in time you were into him. It's totally okay. Okay, that's how we structured. The human being is structured also for that passionate moment. That point in time, we were into that person. But 5 hours later, it wasn't relevant anymore. Or a year later, it's not relevant. Or 5 years later, it's not relevant. So what he's saying here, or what's the point is, even at the urge, don't give in to an urge and destroy a lifetime of a relationship with someone that's there and is, especially if you have in a family together and you have a commitment to each other. Just don't give in to that moment. Hopefully you're wise enough never to get into such a moment where you get an urge. But if you're not that successful, then just think twice. Go for a jog. Go for a cold shower. I don't know. Do something. Go do a sale. Go sell. Okay. So it finishes off like this. Sex is a big step on the way to happiness and joy. There's nothing wrong with it if it is followed with faithfulness and decency. So, any questions so far about this? Okay. So I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna take a step further. Okay. I'm gonna take a step further. So what happens when someone is committing a transgression against another person, especially when you're in a relationship, but it could be to any relationship. Let's look at the relationship between a mother and daughter. Okay, let's look at the relationship between a mother and daughter. The daughter is 15, and she wants to go out with Mike with his long gold hair and his newly 1600 motorcycle, and she wants to go with him to a party, and just the idea of sitting behind on the motorcycle is, that's, wow. I mean, I haven't experienced that, but can imagine. So, but she has a problem, because mommy is a smart lady, and mommy really worries about her daughter. But from the daughter's point of view, she won't understand me. She won't understand me. So when children have a problem, and as because they're children and they have no say on their life. So let's look, if you're an adult, if you're 21 and you want to go on a motorcycle and your mother says no, you say, okay, mommy, I got you, but I'm 21 and I'll do whatever I want, and goodbye, right? So you can be frank and you just go ahead, and maybe mommy will fight with you and you fight with mommy, but all is okay. But what happens when you're 15, 16? You don't have that ability to have that argument with your mother if you're not on the wild side, okay? So your solution will be what? To lie. That's the solution. We all as kids from time to time did it. For those of you who haven't, I apologize. I guess it only happens in my household, but for yours, if you didn't, it's okay. That's excellent. And what happened is, so she tells her mother that I'm going to my friend Evelyn, and I'm going to sleep there the night. And she goes and she meets this young man, and they go on the motorcycle and they have a hell of a time. And really, as the movie shows, it was awesome. It was a good thing to do. But the problem now, that she is hiding a transgression that she has committed against her mother, because she knew that she's not allowed to do that, and she's hiding that. Now, the next time she wants to go now to a party, And she can't tell her mother, obviously, that she's going to a party where it's over 18 or 19 kids and they are drinking, you know, because the mother is a smart mother. She won't allow her daughter of 16 to do that. So now she tells another story. And she goes to a party. And she has an awesome time in the party. It's all cool. But again, she's facing the problem that she has committed a transgression against the mother, and she's not telling her mother. Now, there's a whole area in her life that she can't speak to her mother about. She can't speak to her mother about boyfriends or men because, you know, what if her mother finds about? You guys remember this time when you were young, very young, and you did something you're not supposed to? And you had to confess, and you had this huge, huge, huge fear. Oh my God, I'm gonna get into big trouble. You had that huge fear that you're gonna get punished, etc. That the actual result versus the fear were out of proportion. For example, like the corona and the amount of people that actually get affected by corona. You know, so the same thing. So she is not willing to be caught. Okay. She's not willing to be caught by her mother, so she can't talk about boys or boyfriends, and she can't talk about parties because she goes to parties without her mother know. And because in the parties her girlfriends are there, she can't talk about that as well. And suddenly enough, her mother and herself are not friends. And the conversation is, how was your day? It was good. Bang, she goes into the room. And when she does go to a party, who were the friends that you saw? You don't know them. Bang, she goes to the room. She cannot communicate. She cannot communicate into a whole sphere of her life with her mother. As a result of that, there is now starting to be a chasm between the mother and the daughter. And the mother, of course, doesn't understand why, because the mother hasn't changed anything in her behavior and her viewpoint. But the daughter has started to lie. Now, how many of you have friends that you lie to them on a regular basis? Guys, please volunteer. Any one of you have a friend that you lie to him on a regular basis? Shadeh, do you have friends that you lie to them every day? Yes? Tell me, how does that work for you? Shadeh?
It's not good. I always blue tick them on WhatsApp.
You what?
I always blue tick them on WhatsApp so that I try and avoid the conversation.
Amazing. You try to avoid the conversation. Okay. If you are not honest with a friend, first of all, the definition of friend falls away. And the second thing, you're not going to be friends with this person. Now, when you have a mother, you don't have to be her friend, but she's always going to be your mother.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your daughter is walking around, with a sour face and banging doors, if you ask her about her friends or anything, well, guess what? Some transgressions are happening that she is not sharing it with you. But now, is this real to everybody? Can everybody see this? Okay. Cool. Now let's take it into a couple. Okay. Let's take it into a couple. A couple should be the best friends. Okay. But if a husband is lying to the wife and cheating on her, how can he stay a friend of her? His transgression doesn't allow it. If the wife, and it could be vice versa, guys, I'm just giving examples. I'm not saying that only men cheat or only women lie, okay? This is not the point. I'm just giving an example. Now, if you are spending money as a woman or a man in the house, you're buying things that you're not supposed to according to the moral agreement of the family. And all we're talking about is the moral agreement of the family. Not the nation, not the group, just the family. Every family has agreements between husband and wife. How to behave as a family. And if you have a wife or husband for that story, buying things secretly that they shouldn't. Again, how can you be friends with your partner when you are lying to them? When you're committing transgressions that you're withholding from your partner. Guys, you get that point? And there you have how a couple begin to drift aside. There you get the underlying cause for broken families. Okay?
Sorry,
Yeah.
there's another one from Laurent. He said, I do sometimes buy things without my wife knowing, and that does lead to a lot of problems.
But does he, Laurent, do you tell her eventually? Laurent?
Yes, eventually, eventually then I bring it home, but then I'm in that situation where I expected to see a happy face, but eventually become a sour face, and goes, why? You're supposed to ask before you buy it, and but I told I'm gonna make you happy by bringing in this. It's like, no, you had to ask first, because then it's been the whole story, and I totally agree on that.
Okay, so interesting what you're saying here, and there's another thing that comes into here, guys, is just a matter of if there's an agreement that someone asks first or verifies first, and I truly recommend that better more communication than less communication, because the pain of less communication, wow. I mean, if you could save in one sentence an hour of shouting afterwards. I mean, it's really worth it. And then two people having to share a bed, and each one is hoping that the bed suddenly will grow another meter from each side so it can swallow them. Okay, so yeah, so the point is, thanks for that. Another thing, just for asking, if there's no question on the subject, Laurent brought something up, and I will just go into that. Is there anything else you want to say on this, guys? Do you get the point of the transgression? You get the point? Okay. And that is the majority of the problems between people, is the transgressions that you do and withhold. You can do a transgression, but if you don't withhold it and you verbalize it to your partner or to anyone you did it, you'll be how amazed. Although you think it's a wall that you can't cross, actually that's the only way to maintain the relationship, is actually to put it on the table. Yes, Ellen?
There's a comment from Jyoti.
From
Jyoti.
yes?
Jyoti
Yes.
Dinman. Okay, she says, I want to say something. What if there's no reality between a husband and wife regarding particular things?
Well,
sorry, it continues. Like my husband does not believe in organic foods and keto diet, and I follow both.
okay, good. And how much enlightenment did she give a husband on keto and diet? How much enlightenment did she give him? Jyoti,
Okay,
how much you enlightened him? Do you understand enlightening?
Okay, there's more that she messaged. She said, and so when I buy organic food and keto supplements, I don't tell him about it. And then she said he's a medical doctor and has a I know barrier.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, Jyoti, why don't you can get from Ellen my personal email, or we can do a personal Zoom, but I don't want to go into it on this level. There are ways that I can help you with that. Okay, we just have to get through that one. It's fine. Okay, if you're interested, I can help you with that. Cool. Anyone else? Okay, so let's continue. So Laurent said something, not asking. Sometimes the problem is not what one buys. It's just not asking. What it means not asking? Not granting beingness to your partner. It would be you could say, for example, hey, your opinion is not important enough, I'm buying it and that's it. So the granting of beingness to your partner is extremely important. It's extremely, for example, in this case, if I take a Jyoti, I will take it in exaggeration, you know, I'm a doctor. What do you understand? No granting of beingness to Jyoti on that way. And I don't mean that's what happens. I'm just using it as an example. Okay? Granting of beingness is listening to the other person and telling them, by listening, telling them a very simple thing. Hey, I get it. You are there. I get it. And I get your opinion. I might not agree with it, but I get your opinion. Or the other side of it, hey, you are part of my family. You are a very important part of my family. And for that reason, can I please buy so-and-so? Because otherwise it's, hey, I'm alone in this relationship. Does it make sense? Granting of beingness is correct not only between partners. Granting and beingness is probably one of the most important things that you can do. What does it mean walking up to someone and saying hello to him? Imagine a person going through life, he's walking around and no one is saying hello to him. No one. He's just walking around and no one is acknowledging him by saying hello. Is he alive? Is he in existence? Or would he start to doubt that? What do you think? Would he start to say, hey, I'm a ghost?
You start to doubt it.
Ellen, you were trying to say?
No, Ronald.
Ronald?
No, I'm just saying that you start to doubt it. You start to think that he's invisible or something.
Totally. So you imagine a guy's walking through life and no one's saying hello to him. No one is talking to him. All hello means, or a shake of the hand, it means, hey, you are there, you are alive, I see you. And if you do it in a very nice way, you even can say, thank you for being there and alive. Which is a hell of a nice of granting of beingness. And if we can give that to every person that we meet, wow. And this is not the reason to do it, but I guarantee you 10 times fold of granting of beingness for you. You know what they say about nice people? People really like nice people. What are nice people doing? What actually they're doing? Let's break it down. What the thing that they do? They are granting beingness to others. That's what they're doing. Yes, Ellen?
There's a question from Claudia. How does a family set agreements?
But sitting down and writing an agreement. If you ask Jessica, when we started to date, she asked if she could change things in my flat because she was staying at my flat. And I wrote, you're entitled to change whatever you want in the flat. And here it is in writing. And she has it in writing. And I made a mistake, but what can I say? I'll put it in writing. Okay, it really depends. I mean, between Jessica and I, we have agreements, what I do and what she does. And that's how it is. And if you want to have a healthy relationship, I totally believe that, just put it in writing or at least discuss it and don't take it for granted, because let's talk about stupid things, taking down the bin and washing the dishes, maybe the one just can't stand washing the dishes. This is really something that he doesn't like, to find out, okay, I will do the dishes and you take the bin out. You get my point? We are here together to make a better life together. So very much you need to come to agreements. If you don't come to agreement, well, let's look at this. Have you ever, when you go into a partnership in a company, if you took 2 partners, 3 partners going into a partnership, they will sit down and divide who does what and whatever. There will be agreements put in place. Why is any difference between a company and a family? A family is an organization. A company is an organization. If you're not gonna run your family as an organization, you're gonna suffer. And if you're not gonna run your company as an organization, you're gonna suffer. Both of them built on a very fundamental point of a group. It's two or more people working towards a common purpose. Okay, it's two or more people working towards a common purpose. It has the same concept. Guys, do you get that? Okay, so we are getting close to the hour. I didn't prepare a lot today because we hope that for the Israelis amongst you, we have our president talking in 10 minutes, and we are really holding fingers that some sanity has come home. So we are all for that, and we are going to get prepared. Is there any questions before we end?
Yeah, Shayla made a comment, talk more about granting of beingness.
I will do much more about it. This just came in because Laurent always feeds us some good stuff to talk about. So yeah, I will read actually a full article about granting of beingness. I think it will be.
Is that on Monday?
Sorry?
Is that Monday?
Wow, we're already Wednesday. No, Ellen, you're going to make a note because we'll continue with the way to happiness and we'll come back to it. I have a lot of material that is starting to pile up for after the way to happiness. Some awesome stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So guys, if there's no other questions, first of all, thank you for all the Israelis joining us. This was awesome. And for all the new followers, thank you very much for joining us. And for the usual suspects, I love having you as suspects. It's always awesome having you. Thank you very much. And let us all wish for ourselves the best with Mr. Ramaphosa's speech. Okay? Take care, guys. See you next Monday.
Cool.
Goodbye.
Yes, thank you, Yaron. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.